I guess everyone is familiar with the YouTube Silver Award. In recent years, it looks like a board coated in aluminium with a piece of mirror inside. But a while back, YouTube used to make these cool awards with a real physical play button inside. So today I'm going to show you how to make your own silver play button. Moreover, it will be made of real silver. To start with, we need to print out the YouTube play button logo of different sizes. One American channel had already made such a button, but he didn't explain anything. That's why I have to figure everything out and give explanations for each step. We outline the logo on a piece of plywood or hardwood. After that, cut out the appropriate shape with a jigsaw or something like that. Using a stationary knife and a small file, scoop out a triangle in the center of the button. It is quite hard to do, but after half an hour of torment, we get the following result. Now it's time to fix the workpiece in a vise and smooth out the corners with a file to get the outline of the drawn button. Afterward, we smooth out the sharp edges using sandpaper until we obtain the shape that will satisfy us. As a result, we got such a button. Well, you can stop at this point if you are satisfied with a wooden button, but our goal is real silver. In this case, we take a piece of the same plywood and make a marking without much precision. Cut out 8 rectangular pieces of plywood with a jigsaw. The exact size is not so important. The main thing is to make 2 square structures of the same size, which must be big enough to fit our button inside. I decided to use small self-taping screws to fix the pieces together and additionally secured the joints with glue. Now, we need to make sure that the upper and the lower parts always remain in the same position and don't shift sideways. For this purpose, I will use these plates with holes from the hardware store. I will screw them to the lower part and they will act as rails for the upper half. I ordered these clay casting molds on the internet, although there are many recipes for making it out of sand on YouTube. We need to pour it into the bottom part of the mold and tamp it down properly, for example with a hammer. After removing the excess, we get a perfect half of the mold. Now we should cover the workpiece with talcum powder and literally press it into the mold about halfway. By the way, check out the bend of my fingers. Does anyone else have this superpower? At this point, we smear the entire mold along the workpiece with talcum powder. Place the upper part of the casting, fix it in its place, and then stuff the whole mold with clay all the way to the top. After that, remove the top part and extract the wooden workpiece. As a result, we should get imprints perfectly matching the shape of our blank. Using a drill bit, we make 2 holes in the rear part of the button through which the silver will flow in and the air will flow out. Also, we should make a funnel on the other side, through which we pour the molten silver. Finally, 2 parts of the mold should be carefully assembled and fastened together with 2 screws that will hold them tightly and securely. We are going to melt the silver in this ceramic crucible from AliExpress. Also, we bought such tongs, allowing us to keep the crucible in our hands and conveniently pour the metal into the mold. Here is a pure silver ingot weighing as much as 100 grams from a precious metal store. Let's open the package. Look how beautiful it is. I feel so bad about melting it down, since I'm not sure that I will succeed. The ingot looked too small to me, so I decided to weight it. Okay, it's exactly 100 grams. It's time to put it in the crucible, get a metal container, and now we need to go up to the attic and steal some mineral insulation, which we place in the container. This wool is very resistant to high temperatures, and this way we won't burn a hole in the table. I almost forgot about a white powder called borax. You can buy it at a drugstore or online at reasonable prices. First, we need to heat the crucible with a gas burner and sprinkle it with borax, which will turn it into a glassy layer that coats the walls and prevents the silver from sticking to them. Now it's time to melt our silver ingot. I was not sure if the burner was powerful enough to melt it. However, within a couple of minutes the silver gave in, and we witnessed the spectacular process of turning a solid ingot into a liquid metal. At that point, we had to carefully bring silver to the mold and pour it out. Damn, the mineral wool was stuck to the crucible and didn't allow us to move it. At that moment, I couldn't figure out anything better and faster than to just melt it with a gas burner and release the crucible tongs. It was crucial to pour the metal rapidly and accurately into the mold without spilling it all over myself. I was quite nervous, but I did my best to pour it right into the funnel, and eventually everything seemed to work out. I was anxious to see what had happened inside the mold, but even half an hour later it was too hot to disassemble it or touch with bare hands. It took about an hour to cool the mold down. Now we are ready to unravel its mystery and find out if the casting was successful or we have to do it all over again. Looks like we've succeeded. Sure, the button is far from perfect, there are some minor defects in it, but I'm sure we can remove them during further processing. Look how beautiful the logo imprint looks on the baked clay. The temperature made it harden and turn dark grey. Of course, there is no need to throw away all the clay from the mold, as it can be used repeatedly. All we need to do is remove the burnt part and keep the rest for further use. So, what should we start with? First of all, we get rid of the channel through which the silver was poured. I decided not to cut them off completely, but to leave about centimeter-long tips for some time. Next, it is necessary to remove a significant layer of silver from the workpiece with the help of a metal file, because there are many cavities and other defects left after casting. Afterward, the button is processed with sandpaper until we get rid of all the flaws. They remain only inside a triangle, as it is more difficult to reach them. We'll use this graver to save time. However, it is possible to achieve the same result with sandpaper or an abrasive sponge. Now we need a green paste for polishing metals. It is also quite affordable and can be bought at the market or in a hardware store. If you heat the paste with a flame, it becomes much more elastic. With each passing minute, the button becomes more and more beautiful. For polishing the triangle, I took a cotton swab, fixed it in the screwdriver, and thus managed to clean even the most hard-to-reach places. Now we need to create a decorative container for our button. We don't have a wooden frame of the proper size, so we'll make it ourselves out of the narrow wooden sticks. They need to be glued together, and the third square stick should be fixed on the side. Everything was left to dry overnight, and in the morning we got such 4 profiles for the frame. Using the knowledge of the school geometry course, I managed to draw an angle of 45 degrees and cut the corners so that it would eventually make a rectangle measuring 9 by 12 centimeters. At this point, we need to use wood glue to stick everything together and somehow hold the pieces in place. I came up with this design. It looks strange, but the main thing is that it works. I bought a tester pot with a small amount of black paint for $1, which is more than enough to paint the entire surface of the frame. While the paint is drying, we fix the button in a vise and cut off 2 tips that we left earlier. Finish them with a file. Don't forget to shave all the shavings. We will melt them into one solid ingot at the end of the video. Silver is a rather soft metal, and there is no need to thread the holes to put the screws in them. For the next step, we should cut 4 planks with beveled corners, so they fit into the frame along the perimeter, pressing tightly against the walls. They are also painted black. Meanwhile, we take a transparent acrylic plastic and mark the internal dimensions of the frame. This type of plastic is very difficult to cut, but if you mark it with a knife applying sufficient force, it can be easily broken along the scratch. We did it! Now we need to do the same with a thin metal plate. It's made of aluminium, so the knife method should work in this case as well. It's time to work on the computer and design a background with the name of the channel for our award. After that, apply and smear a thin layer of rubber adhesive on the metal plate. Overlay the background and smooth it out with a napkin, so as not to leave any fingerprints there. Looks like we did great. Mount the glass in the frame, remove the protective film from it, and then fix the acrylic with the inner frame that we prepared earlier. Now, measure the distance between the holes on the silver button. Fix the button with small screws. Apply a touch of transparent glue around the edges and adhere the back panel with the button to the inner frame. Attach the eyelet for mounting on the wall. Finally, cover the back panel with a piece of thin black decorative felt as on the original award. And so, after so many days of painstaking work, our YouTube play button made of pure silver is ready. There are so many YouTube Silver Awards in the world, but I've never held an award made of real silver in my hands before. Let's compare it to the big button. They are indeed pretty similar. If you don't have silver, then you can use regular aluminium. As I promised, we have to process all the waste from the production of the button into a solid silver ingot and check how much silver is remaining. For this purpose, we created a rectangular mold that should be filled with silver. As a result, we got this beautiful bar made of leftovers, weighing 46 grams. If any of you happen to have an unwanted 100-gram gold bar, you can always send it to us, and we will be glad to make a golden award.